Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. I'm Eoin Devereux, a news and sports reporter with the Banner Press, welcoming you as always to the show. Always appreciate you taking a little bit of your time and spending it with us. I'm joined this week by Kira Paterson. Kira.
Hello.
Great to have you here.
It feels like it's been a while since I've been here, so.
It is, because there's all these little changes. You haven't been here when the table was here.
No, and there's apparently new mic sets too, so that's a totally new thing. It's like I'm just on a different show altogether.
That's right. I mean, we're getting a little fancier as the show progresses, and but don't worry, the news is still the same old news, for better or worse. But let's start with a positive story to go right off the bat with. Something we've talked about in a previous edition of the Banner and Press, something very pleased to be able to share with you. Remembering the Wings to War. If you picked up a recent edition, we told you about the Wings to War exhibit memorial that was going to be put in place in the community of Carberry, commemorating the former flight training school that actually was in the community during World War II. And up until this came about, I was very unfamiliar myself personally with the background, the fact that they had a flight training school in the community, the significance of it, the amount of time it was there. So it was interesting. I learned something from it, and hopefully you'll learn something from it too. And of course, NACTV, Kira, I believe, was also down there getting some shots. So you'll be able to sort of see that right here on the channel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And we're very grateful to NACTV because they were able to get some pictures. We weren't able to be down there in person. So we had Dave Bennett was down there, and his wife Myra Bennett was the one who was able to get some pictures and send them to us. So we were very grateful for NACTV for helping us out with these little things here and there as well.
Actually, that reminds me, Dave came in on the day of the publication where we were putting it together and asked, can you put a little addendum at the end of the story just saying, that this representatives from the service will be appearing in interviews on NACTV. I said, oh yeah, Dave, don't worry about it. Oh no, I'll make sure. And I completely forgot. I was working on some other things and completely got sidetracked. So I'm sorry, Dave, I forgot to put it on there. Does it count if I actually say watch NACTV on NACTV? Does that?
I mean, you can see this on our Facebook page, so I suppose if you're a follower of the Banner and Press on Facebook, you see it too, so that kind of counts.
So check your local listings for NACTV, and you will be able to see the next time they put up these interviews, representatives with the Wings to War memorial. And it was so interesting because I had a gentleman there, Ralph Wild, if I remember the name correctly, who was representative of there and was at the Carberry Flight Training School in 1940. He was actually a part of it. 102 years old, a military veteran. He was involved in the Battle of Britain from England initially, moved to Carberry to help with the training school, ended up meeting a Canadian woman, married her, ended up here, resides in Winnipeg right now. So fascinating. It was so interesting sort of to hear some of that background, and very pleased to be able to share some of the pictures of the event with you on our pages. Anything else you want to add in there, Kira?
I don't think so. I'm just very glad that we can highlight that on our front page this week, because sometimes we have big stories, but then we have something else that has to go on the front page because it's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It's like, but this story normally would be highlighted. So luckily this week we were able to highlight the story that we wanted to on our front page.
Like last week, for example. I'll say it. We had the Maxime Bernier thing on the front page. And whether you like him, whether you agree with him, whether you disagree with him, whether you think he's a schmuck, it doesn't matter, because when a federal leader comes here, that's what you got to run with. If it had been the Green Party leader, if it had been the Liberal leader, if it had been the any other representative, that's usually what we'd have to go with. But this ticked me off slightly, Kira, and I mentioned that because last Tuesday, just before we did last week's paper, the announcement came down that the swimming pool would be getting $297,000 worth of funding. if you are a consistent watcher of this show, you know during June there were about 3 or 4 weeks where I kept teasing you about this big story that we knew about but we couldn't share with you. That was the big story. We knew about this back in June, but for some reason or another, it was not announced at the same time that Gladstone had their pool announcement where they were getting $300,000. I'm not going to get into the backdoor, secret meeting scene of what did or didn't happen on that, but we weren't allowed to. We could have. We honestly could have had that on their front page. The story was written. The story was completely written about the swimming pool upgrades, but I had to sit on it because in media, if you do that, you burn a source.
Yeah, there's a reason some people hate news media, and there's a reason that we're not as hated as some news media.
Well, the fact is, if we had done that, we would have had the exclusive, but we would have burned a source, and we would have never gotten that information from individuals ever again. Because if you burn that trust, how can you ever gain it back, type thing. But that was last week's paper, and I would have loved to have put the swimming pool on the front page there. But again, when a federal leader comes, no matter whether you agree or disagree with them, that's, for a smaller town like Neepawa, that's the story. And we rolled with that. And this week, Wings to War was the one thing that we sort of jumped out at us. And to tease you for next week as well, we got technically 3 stories that could be the front page that are on our agenda. We've got the federal election, which likely is going to be the front page. We've got the opening night for the Neepawa Titans, and because they're debuting the new name, the new jerseys, the whole 9 yards, that could be a front page option because it is a historic opening night. And we also have the Terry Fox run that's going to be happening. And we've featured the Terry Fox run on our front page in previous years. So sometimes it's a feast, sometimes it's a famine, isn't it, Kira?
Yeah, and it's really disappointing because you wish that all the big exciting things would spread out evenly so that you have one solid great story for a front page every single week, but it always happens to be that something happens and then something else pops up. It's like, oh, this has to take precedence. Dang it, I was so excited to be able to share this on our front page to highlight this, but this other thing, even though it's not as exciting to me, it's more important. So there's always that kind of give and take, and it never works out the way you want it to.
Well, again, the fortunate thing is we're going to have 3 great things for next week for sure.
Yeah.
But we still got some pretty darn good things for this week as well. And we got a story that you worked on, Kira. A very exciting little experience that's going to be coming to Neepawa very soon.
Yep. You may have already seen on NACTV because the interview that I did was on NACTV. So I got the information during the interview that was being recorded. And it's about the drive-in movie event that's taking place on September 24th. Neepawa Tourism is organizing it and putting on this event, and it's going to benefit the Roxy Theatre in Neepawa, which is really exciting because obviously having been closed for a year and a half, almost 2 years, they need all the help they can get. Yep. They're not necessarily struggling or dying, but they will appreciate every single donation, every single penny that they get, because they have had such a long span without that consistent revenue. So it's really exciting. Drive-in movie, so it's outdoors, it's in your vehicles, it's all COVID safe, you don't have to talk to people. The best thing about drive-in movies, and I've never even been to a drive-in movie, but I know this is going to be the best thing, is that you don't have to listen to the people beside you. Because you're in a car, you got your doors closed, you got your windows closed, you don't have to hear those people crunching on their popcorn or whispering to each other or coughing or sneezing or yawning.
It's well, what did that guy just say?
Right?
Who's that?
Who's that?
Who's that in relation to that?
What's going on? It's like, I don't know, I'm seeing the movie the same time as you. But so that's really going to be exciting. We haven't had a drive-in movie in Neepawa for decades, as far as I know. We used to have a drive-in theater, actually, but a windstorm took it down and it was never able to recover. So it's really exciting that this portable pop-up event can happen, a one-time thing. So if anybody's been missing that experience or have never experienced it, like myself, definitely don't miss it.
It's going to be interesting. I'm of the generation where we still had drive-in theaters, although they were starting to really die out. And it is a different thing. When I moved to Brandon in the 90s to go to university, we used to have the drive-in theater that was about 5, maybe 10 kilometers just south. And from time to time, we'd go check out the movies there, the midnight showings, because it was the old technology. You had to wait until it was dark. Mm-hmm. But that's the interesting thing about this as well, Kira, is this is some really state-of-the-art technology where you can start watching the movie while the sun's technically still out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like a traditional projector where all the lights have to be turned off to be able to see it properly. It is, from what I understand, it's an LED screen. So it emits its own light, so you will be able to see it. If anybody is familiar with the screen at Assiniboine Park, they've been doing movies in the park. They have a screen similar to that where they can do it before sunset, so they can have stuff for the kids in the summer because it doesn't get dark till like 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So there will be movies at 6 p.m. and it doesn't matter if it's dark enough at 6 p.m. because they've got this technology, and then there's going to be another one at 9 p.m. So it'll be a little bit darker then, so maybe it'll look nicer, who knows, but it'll still look really good at the 6 p.m. movie. For those who are curious, it's going to be the Lego Movie at 6, something a little more for the kids. I personally love the Lego Movie too, so the kid inside of me is happy.
Yeah.
And Jurassic World will be on at 9 p.m. So a couple of big blockbuster movies, popular films, something that is sure to be a hit in town.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of interesting. I am a member of Neepawa Tourism Board, so we had an email chain going back and forth just deciding what films we would be showing. And I would have picked different films myself, but we have to think of the whole spectrum. What are we going to get the biggest bang for the buck on when it comes to this? It's going to bring in all the vehicles. So our feeling is the Lego Movie and Jurassic World, and they're both enjoyable films as well, will bring in the most patrons. And we do hope that people come in and they'll donate some, because we want to help the Roxy Theatre very much. They've been through, as Kira said, so much over the last 18 to 19 months. So anything we can do to keep that little crown jewel of Neepawa running is we jumped at the chance to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, well, that's pretty much about it on the movies. We're going to have pictures, obviously, during the film. Hopefully, those will be some interesting visuals that we'll be able to share with you in a future edition of the Banner Press, and right here on the Story Behind the Stories. But something else we hope we will not be sharing with you again in the next 16 to 18 months is all this election coverage. We hope that next week's paper can possibly be the last for a while. We did it in 2019. Were you here for that? Were you back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was here for that.
All right.
Yeah. Always a joy.
Yeah. And we've been doing a lot of election stuff throughout the last few weeks. We reached out to every candidate that we could. Most of them got back to us. Some of them did not get back to us. We have tried to be as fair on this as we could, to give everybody their opportunity to share their perspective of why they believe that their party is the one that should be governing Canada in the future. So now it's your chance. The voting stations, the polling stations are opening. They're going to be open Monday. If you did any advanced polling, you had an opportunity last weekend. And it's kind of interesting. You wrote this up, Kira, about the numbers for advanced polling this time out. Surprising.
Yeah, you might be shocked to learn that our advanced polling numbers were a lot higher this year than they were in the last election. I believe 18.7, something like that, 18.5% higher than the last election, which is really interesting. And it kind of makes sense, but it's also kind of surprising. It's surprising in the fact that it seems like nobody really wants this election. So I wouldn't be surprised if the voter turnout is lower because nobody wants to deal with this stuff. But it also makes sense in that election night, there's always a lot of people going in and out of the polling stations. It's kind of a crowded place. So if you can get the advanced voting, then you can avoid the crowds, which during COVID-19 is kind of an ideal situation.
Yep.
So
What I liked as well about the article, Kira, was the fact that we were able to get our local ridings sort of numbers in there. Very precise.
Yeah, we have Dauphin, Swan River, Neepawa. We have a couple other ridings in the surrounding area that were kind of note in Manitoba, and some of the numbers Canada-wide as well. They were very thorough in the information that they sent out to us, so very thankful to the Elections Canada people. But yeah, it's very interesting to see. And I was going through the whole list. There's 338 electoral districts across Canada. I counted all of the districts that didn't see higher numbers. There was only 23 that didn't have higher numbers, and most of them were about par or maybe 100, 200 less. There were a few that were like a lot less, like half of what they had last time.
Yeah.
But most of it, like obviously over 300 of the 338 had higher advanced polling numbers than last time. So
that's very interesting because, quite honestly, I thought this was going to be one of those elections where nobody pays attention, nobody cares. There's nobody's inspired to sort of go out there. But if the advanced polling is any indication, maybe I was wrong on that. Big surprise, Owen was wrong.
wow,
Oh my God.
that never happens.
No, not at all. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out next week.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be a liberal minority, whether it's going to be a conservative minority. Well, that's pretty much the two viable options. All right, that was a little bit of commentary on my part. But historically, that's Canada for you. So we'll see how that plays out. The People's Party of Canada, some people are saying they could play spoilers in terms of conservative advancement. Some people are saying that the Liberals might make some inroads in Quebec. Others are saying the Conservatives might be able to take some strongholds from the NDP and the Greens out west. We're not going to know until we know, are we?
No, it's really hard to know. You can't, unless you have a time machine, you can't really predict this kind of thing because it changes all the time. Who's ahead, who's dropping in the polls, and who made a stupid comment and now nobody likes them.
Yeah. All right, so let's shift over from federal politics down to a local level. Neepawa Town Council recently had a meeting. During the summer months, as you may know, they only cut it down to one meeting a month. A little bit of a summer holiday for them a bit. There's still work getting done. Don't think that they're just slacking off. There's still a lot of work that gets done, but now they've shifted back to their multiple meetings a month schedule for September. They recently had a meeting, and they covered a few things. If you'd picked up last week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press, you maybe saw some of that information. It was extremely important, extremely pertinent, so we rushed to get that information out to you. One of those was the new pool upgrades that are going to be coming for Neepawa swimming pool. We wanted to get that information out to you as quickly as possible. Since pretty much it was written since June, that made it pretty easy. I'm not going to lie. We also had a picture last week of myself and Kelsey Wilson of Neepawa Tourism giving a check to council from the Makers Market to the swimming pool. God, if I'd known the swimming pool is getting $297,000, we wouldn't have bothered giving that other $4,500. We'd given it to somebody else, maybe. Yeah.
But the $297,000, from what I understand, it's only like 50% of it, so they still need to make up another $297,000. So that helps.
That is true. That is only going to cover 50% of the mega upgrades that are going to be happening at the swimming pool. Once you see it's all said and done, you're just going to be blown away by what they have to do with it. It's going to be very interesting. Council, they went through their regular process, council updates. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. If you want to see it, it's on page 2. It continues on to page 13. I sit there and I'll update you on all the really important stuff. And there are a few notable things in here from the council updates on the veterinary committee and some upgrades for the vet clinic, as well as the county courthouse and some needed repairs for the county courthouse. And just hopefully you take a minute. It's a relatively easy read. And these are things that directly impact you. Sometimes people say municipal politics can be a bit dry, can be a bit boring, and yeah, that is kind of true. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but these are the things that most directly affect your day-to-days. So it's very important that you take a few minutes and actually learn a little bit about it, because a week from now, if something goes sideways, well, why did this happen? Why did this go on? Well, we told you about it 2 weeks ago. Well, I didn't know that. Did you pick up the paper? Yeah. Did you read the article? Not yet. Well, then that's on you. I think I'm done berating our viewership for now. I apologize for that. It is not the policy of NACTV or the Banner Press to berate its readership or its viewership. So, my bad.
Whoops.
Oops. Oh, all right. Let's go a little more lighthearted. We got a couple sports things that have been going on and will be going on. We're going to have sports pages again, multiple sports pages again.
Oh.
Kira's not excited about that, but I'm kind of amped about it. And one of them is high school football. The NACI Tigers recently had practices getting ready for a season. And it's great to see that there is going to be a season for the Rural Manitoba Football League. Last year was canceled because of COVID-19 and restrictions. This year, the plan is to move forward with the season. They got about 20 players out there. That's not a lot. They could use a few more out there. It's if I remember correctly, it's a 9-person football league, so 9 on offense, 9 on defense. So, but that's still, you got to tire out if there's only 20 of you. That's old school Iron Man football. Back when leather helmets were still a thing.
Yeah, some of them will be playing both ways. There'll be guys that are taking the kick return and then running back, and then all of a sudden have to be on defense.
Exactly, back with leather helmets and guys named Bronco who are playing the game, But it's wonderful to see that these kids are going to get this opportunity. And not just for football. If football's moving forward, that means we're going to see volleyball here in Neepawa, and then a little further down the way we'll see hockey, and we'll see basketball, and we'll see all the different sports, because that's one of the parts of the whole high school experience. You want to be able to sort of, even if you don't play those sports, you want to go out and support the teams. There's nothing better, like the last couple years, than going out and seeing the high school basketball, for example. Everybody gets just so excited about those games. It's really fun to be a part of, and I bet a lot of kids miss that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and it's really too bad that there was like a whole year where that couldn't happen at all. So any of the kids that were in grade 12 last year, they missed their last chance to be able to do this stuff. And even the year before, for the certain things that happened during the season after it was canceled. So stuff that happened in the spring and kind of later on and closer to the end of the year, things like track and field they couldn't do, stuff like that. It's pretty disappointing when you miss your last chance to be able to do some of that stuff, and you had enjoyed being part of the team or had enjoyed cheering on your friends that were on the team and all that kind of a thing. It's a big part of the high school experience that you kind of miss out on, and you don't realize that you appreciate it so much until it's gone.
Yeah, I had a chance to speak with head coach T. Small about that, and he said it is disappointing to him personally to see the development of all these younger players and to get slowly but surely year over year better, and then they missed out on their senior year last year. He said he felt really bad for those players, and at the same time he said this was a team that was going to be very competitive, but things change, and that's just the way it is. You could say the same thing as well for hockey and the Neepawa Titans Junior A hockey team. They missed out. They only played 10 games last year before the regular season was canceled, but they are getting back onto the ice this year. Friday, the 17th, it'll be a home game against the Dauphin Kings. I got a write-up in the paper with head coach, general manager Ken Pearson about it. They are so hyped up about it, Kira. They've got, after about 11 months because of COVID restrictions, plus on top of that, the new name, the new jerseys, I gotta say, you gotta see those new jerseys up close and personal. Those things are pretty slick.
But don't get on the ice when they're playing. That's dangerous.
No, that's not a good idea.
Not that up close and personal.
Yeah, you might slip and fall. No, but it's great to see Manitoba Junior Hockey League coming back as well. So we've got a story on that, and as well some of the stats from the exhibition games, all 4 of them. When you see these stats on there, understand that I had to type in every single bit of that, and that is so time consuming. I am so happy they've changed the schedule, Kira, where it's only 2 games a week. So fortunately, that's going to cut down on all that time consumption that this is.
Yeah,
so when you see when you see 4 of them in there, just know that I'm typing here.
Owen's getting carpal tunnel just so that you can know the stats of these games.
Just so you can ignore the stats. Like Kira does.
Yep, just like me. I don't even read them. If
Worst,
there's a mistake, whoops, I didn't see it.
The worst part is I'm sort of like this. Sometimes there'll be 2 fingers on each, but for the most part, it's,
It's the hunt and peck thing.
Exactly. But that's you can find that on our sports pages, and as well as special little thing on page 16. Just headshots of every single player there. We don't usually do this for the Titans, but we did it this year. And I'll give away. We did it this year because we had 4 pages more than we were supposed to.
Yeah.
Our printer, there was a problem with their distributor for paper, so they could only print in certain subsections, and they called us up and said, how many pages are you going to have? We were going, probably 20 this week. Can you do 24? I won't charge you for 24, but, can you? It's like, yeah, sure. And then we had to come up with 4 more pages.
Yep. So Eoin came up with the brilliant idea to give himself more work and put in every single player's names and pictures and little logo and everything in every single little square. So that was his brilliant idea to take up some more space.
All that was individually built when you see that. And sort of the hockey card thing as well. All of that was built. You're welcome. When you skip completely past that, you're welcome.
Just you don't have to read it, but just take like a moment of silence for Owen's wrists and fingers that were dying, and his eyes as he was going cross-eyed looking at the screen.
But that's the little behind-the-scenes things that we do each and every week here at the Banner Press to bring you a publication that we're proud of. We have good weeks, we have bad weeks, but we can't really do it, Kira, without them, can we?
No. We need input from the community, ads and story ideas and letters and all that kind of thing.
And you can do that by contacting us at 476-3401, or you can reach us at news@neepawabanner.com. Ads at neepawabanner.com, another one if you'd like to place an ad. Creative is another option at neepawabanner.com. And all your sports stuff at sports, guess where? At Neepawa. You got it. At neepawabanner.com.
I don't know. Tell us.
We appreciate you spending some time with us as well each and every week right here on NAC TV and the story behind the stories. So until the next time we're able to sit down and chat with you, hopefully you have a good day and a good week.